narrow it down to one of your favorite artists from the baby boomer era.
Mm, Beach Boys are up there.
Okay.
I also like, besides like artists, I like the songs because usually there's sometimes like the one hit wonder.
Yeah.
Like Earth Angel.
That's
I really like Earth Angel.
Good point. Yeah.
But if I was to go an artist,
and you can do songs too. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead and do songs too. If you like some one hit wonders, because we're gonna probably talk. Honestly, Gen X had a lot of one hit wonders, tons.
Yes.
So go ahead.
So Beach Boys, some of my favorite songs by them. Lil Deuce Coupe. Get Around. They're just classic.
Uh-huh.
What are some others? Let's see. I mean, Earth Angel. I think it's by the Penguins. Actually, a lot of people sing that song.
Yeah. But they were the first, weren't they?
Yeah, I think so. The classic, just love song. You know.
Okay.
I love the heart in a lot of the songs. Put Your Head on My Shoulder, Paul Anka. I don't really delve a lot into like the artists themselves. I usually just listen to the most popular. Okay. Because that's what is usually the best. Yeah. In my opinion, because if everybody likes it, then I like the catchy stuff.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good point to bring up. Is you're definitely going to have a sect of people out there that, they're the ones, and I'm going to pick on them a little bit, but if you're listening and you're one of these people, I'm picking on you in fun. It's all in good fun. So you got that group of people that they like to like the stuff that no one ever knows about and no one ever hears, and truly, I know people that just love that kind of stuff. They truly do. Mm-hmm. And then there's the ones that they just like it because it's unique and different, and they like to be different. So, and that's fine too. Hey, whatever is the reason you like it, as long as you like it, good. I hope you're having fun with it. But let's be honest, there's some that really like to get out there and get some of the odd things and show their knowledge base of whatever genre of music it is. But my point is, to what you were saying, is that a lot of the good stuff, it's good for a reason. A lot of the popular stuff. Now, there's plenty of popular stuff that I don't like, and I imagine you're the same way. But I guess to speak to your point and to get it narrowed down to my own take on that is, I'm not going to let something's popularity dictate whether I like it or not. I'm not going to mark it out or even like it because it is popular.
Yes.
So I think there's nothing wrong with liking the stuff that's out there and that most people like. Nothing wrong with it. It's usually a reason for it.
Yep. It's fun.
Yeah. Okay. I would have to say, to the counterpoint, or that's some of your favorites in the boomers age. My favorite by far of the baby boomers music it's Beatles. Mm-hmm. I admire them for their artistry. Again, they're not promoting anybody as somebody to look up to or for life lessons or anything like that, but strictly for their music. I truly, and this is another bold statement, I would compare them to the composers in the classical era of music. I mean, the Debussy's, the Mozart's, Beethoven's.
That's interesting.
And here's the reason. I've said that to people, and usually people give me funny looks. Or they say it's interesting like that because I think a lot of people never or rarely ever look at it this way. But and let's narrow it down even more, between John and Paul, they all contributed, but they wrote, between the two of them, they composed and wrote the vast majority of the Beatles songs, or they had the most influence on the Beatles songs as a group. Mm-hmm. They experimented with music. They went to different parts of the world. Yeah. They went to Eastern nations and civilizations, Africa, all over the world, to learn different types of music. Yes. And then they took it and incorporated it quite successfully, I might add, into their music. And in that way, they are at least as profound and prolific as the composers of old, and the music they did in the 60s, whenever they were in their heyday, something for everybody to think about. If I'm curious, if you have a hot take on that, let me know. If you disagree and think I'm way overstating the magnitude of how good they were, then let me know. But or if you agree, or if you never thought about that and it hit home with you, let me know. But that's what I think about them. They were very prolific, and that doesn't
Yes.
diminish Beach Boys or any of the others. But
Yes. Yeah.
that's something that I've noticed about them growing up over the years. I first started listening to them because my dad did.
Yeah.
So again, cinnamon.
Yep.
I have lots of memories associated. But then over the years, as I listened and kind of matured in how I would listen to music and learning music myself, I realized what they were doing. And kind of it impressed me. It was neat.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I would almost consider the Beatles as not like almost stepping into the next generation, really, because of their music type. A lot of that acoustic, it almost sounds like they're in the studio a lot of times. Like it's really, really well done.
Yeah.
But also like the lyrics, like I said before, I listened to the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
The lyrics that they talked about are very unique.
Yeah.
And almost broke the mold, really.
Yeah.
And I love the Beatles. I love the talent that they bring, but for some reason, every time I listen to a song by the Beatles, I get I discern like an interesting like spirit that it brings.
Yeah.
If I have to define it that way.
Yeah.
And I personally don't like it.
Yeah.
But I love the music.
Yeah.
So it's like I just have to balance it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the talent is amazing. That's the problem. Yeah. I think that's what's interesting with music. The talent, almost anybody that's popular usually. Yeah. I don't know about now.
Yeah.
But the talent is there. But it's easy to be for myself. I don't just listen to anything because I'm trying to be careful what comes in.
Yeah, that's good.
So when something like that does come up, it's like the talent is there, and I want to listen to it, but it's just I want to think how it's affecting my heart.
Yeah.
And the Beatles are a great example of that because they're so good.
Yeah.
And every time I hear a song, I'm like, so good.
Yeah.
But it's
so
just,
you're not in for those kinds of reasons.
Yes.
Yeah.
A couple songs I still listen to, but it's just I don't know, like they're so good. That's the problem. Like that's what's cool.
Well, and again, that goes back to it really comes to your convictions. You know, if you have convictions and that you truly believe in, then that's for one, it's between you and God, and in your case, between you and God and your parents, and that's that. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, and I encourage that for anybody, whatever your convictions are. You know, for and talking to Christians out there, as long as it follows the Bible and you're staying within God's word, then you need to follow those convictions because there's a reason for that. You know.
Yeah, I think also it's easy to put other people down for maybe not their convictions. Maybe when you have the conviction, I've found it hard for me to look at somebody else who listens to music that's secular or that I think is wrong.
Yeah.
And they say they're a Christian, but it's like that. It's not about that.
Yeah.
It's not about what they listen to. It's not my part to put them down because that's just judged.
Yeah.
That I don't want to judge them.
Yeah.
And it's not like don't judge me or it's like just in the body of Christ, just being one.
Yeah.
Judgment doesn't help that. It only separates us.
Yeah. That's good. That's really good. Well, and I know that there will be even more. There's more examples than even that. I'm sure that are out there. And between anyone out there who's listening right now, there's going to be plenty of that out there. That one has a conviction, one maybe not so much, or one feels a different way about it. Again, that's between you and God. You know, that's when it comes down to it. And I'm secure in that, and I feel you are secure in that. You and your family, I know you are secure in your convictions. I am as well, and so is my family. And that's it. That's the end of it. You know. You know, and unless we have some sort of a really divine change of heart that He's trying to work with us on, then we don't need to worry about it anymore. That's it.
It shouldn't cause greater division.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you this. Who in Gen X, artists, songs, anything like that, do you have any favorites in that category? Even if they're not maybe your favorites overall, but you would say Gen X, you know, in the 80s, so the big groups from the 80s and 90s is what I would say.
Yes.
And maybe even some 70s.
Yeah, so I don't really know a lot about like other generations. the reason why I like the baby boomers sentiment, and I have mostly just people my age probably just don't know about other generations.
Yeah.
So I'm not that educated on that stuff.
That's
So,
okay. Yeah.
but I would say it's pretty fun because my parents do know the songs, and sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, I like this one song," and so like there's a Tear for the Boy, or like they're just fun.
Yeah.
And I actually do like the synthesizers in them.
Yeah.
It just adds something. But
Well, and let's talk about that for a second, because it is true. It is different. There's a difference in the music, and there's something to be said about the more analog way that was done in the baby boomers era, and of the Buddy Hollies, the Beach Boys, even the Beatles, and some others. They had a lot more of the analog and not less of the digital, and they figured out ways to do stuff that, for instance, some of the that wah-wah sound, and I'm not talking about the bar on the guitar, but that's made by the amplifier, that was originally done mechanically inside of amplifiers by a microphone that they would set, and it would spin around inside of I said the amplifier, inside of the speaker box.
wow.
And so that's how they would get some of that wavering sound. And a lot of the mixing they did, it was not a lot, all of the mixing they did was analog, so they were literally manipulating the electronic signal that was going through these instruments. So fast forward to, we'll say about the 80s is when it started getting the synth, right? The 80s is known for synthesizers and the synth drums too, all of that. And so that's when everything just went digital, big time digital. Well, it's funny because a decade or two later, everybody starts going back to the old 50s and 60s rock and roll way of recording. I say everybody, a lot of people did, especially people that want a certain sound. Mm-hmm. So now here's my point. I kind of went the long way around, is even in the synth era and the digital, I would still give a lot of credit to a lot of those who used the digitally done music. Because for one, they're still composing.
Yes.
And even if they're not composing their own music, there's a lot of artists that they buy songs written by others and perform it. But if they perform it in a way, because they usually arrange it in their own way, they rearrange the music even if they buy it, and then they perform it, and it's about the entirety of the circumstances, the music. If you're there live, seeing them dancing on stage, doing whatever, and the way they present themselves. So there is a lot of artistry to it that I think sometimes gets missed. Oh, does that make sense?
I would agree with that. It's still music.
Yeah.
And it's easy to be like, oh, I just don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Now, I guess we got to give millennials and the rest of your generation, you aside, their due. And I wish we could have gotten maybe a couple other people that could really get us on there. But I will say, there is some stuff that has come out post baby boomer, post Gen X, and I would say it's a really wide and fuzzy line between the generations. And there's a lot of overlap too, but I would say around the turn of the century is maybe when we started moving into millennial. Maybe around the early 2000s, and there's still been a lot of stuff that has come out that's good. And here's the other thing that kind of really throws us for a loop. So you would say baby boomers, and there's many who would say baby boomers are the best. I would say Gen X is the best, and then there's even millennials who might say millennials is the best. But this will just throw us way for a loop. There's the artists that have been around through all those generations. Paul McCartney. He's still around. I mean, let's see, Ringo. He was still around and making music up into. I think he was still performing at least. I say making music, performing up into past the turn of the century. Him and Paul.
Yep.
Not as much, but still doing it. So then it's like, okay, well, there's others that can kind of steal the artist from a different generation.
Yep.
And say, well, that's my favorite, and he was still playing whenever I was. So.
It's also, I think the decades of music, they almost like, they they start to disintegrate because the amount of